up to now. It's not just a homecoming. Like I said, it is indeed a farewell journey for a man who symbolized the struggle, the hope, and the resilience of a people, a national figure whose impact truly transcended politics. And at the moment, as you can see, large crowds already gathering at the Mamboleo grounds, where the Kenya Defence Forces aircraft is expected to land at about 8 a.m. It is 46 minutes past 6 a.m. I believe in the next 1 hour or so, we will have the body of the former Prime Minister Raila Odinga landing there at the Mamboleo grounds. And there we will have a public viewing of those who've gathered, and perhaps a cultural tribute will also take place. Residents have already lined up to mourn, to pray, and marching together in celebration of life. Raila, being more than just a politician, he was a freedom fighter, a reformist. He endured a very tumultuous political journey. He went through detention without trial. He was in exile at some point. He's faced political betrayal and even loss, but yet never gave up the dream of a united democratic Kenya. And you could listen to those who knew him and those who understand the vision that he had for Kenya, and not just Kenya, but the continent as well. He has served in various capacities in this country. Served as Member of Parliament for Langata. He's been a minister, and he's also been a former Prime Minister of Kenya. That was between 2008 and 2013. You can see song and dance there in celebration of the life that he lived, the life of Right Honorable Raila Odinga. Grief and celebration merged together for the life of the former Right Honorable Raila Odinga. And of course, after today's events in Kisumu, the body will then be transported to his Bondo home in Siaya County. There, the burial will take place. Security has been heightened in the region, and several roads have already been closed in anticipation of the large crowds we expect to see. Remember, this body will be driven by road from Kisumu to Bondo, and residents have already gathered across or lining up the road and the streets to just get a glimpse of Raila Odinga for the last time, and to pay their final respects and to say goodbye. And the dynasty of the Odinga family has now been passed on from generation to generation, sown by Jaramogi Oginga Odinga's historical title of Kenya's first vice president. But when Raila Odinga picked the baton from his late father, he did not just do so politically, but through a focus on the wealth of family ties. The evidence of this shining in the tributes that were given by his family yesterday at the Nyayo National Stadium. We had a report there by Ngina Kirori. Perhaps if we could just listen to that report as we continue to have the live pictures on our screens.
The year was 1982. And barely 10 years into their marriage, Raila and Ida Odinga would face one of the most trying tests of their union as he went into detention. Despite this, Raila did not allow a discourse between his political ambitions and his dedication to family.
I don't know who I'll miss more, my dad or my superhero.
Throughout the tributes, the common denominator amongst Raila's children was that to most people he was the Right Honorable Raila Odinga, but to his children he was just Dad.
I remain the gentleman of the family. Dad, I want you to assure you that I'll take care of our family, Mom, Rosie, Winnie, and your larger political family too.
To me, he was my advisor. He was a friend. He was also someone who understood me very well.
He died in my arms. But he did not die like people have been saying on social media. Every day he was waking up and walking. And every day he would do 1 round. The next day he would push 2 rounds. That morning he pushed to 5 rounds. He died strong, when with dignity and with pride.
Oburu Odinga, born 1 year and 2 months before his younger brother Raila Odinga, said that their special bond is now held in eternity, considering that the late Raila died on his birthday.
If you came across him with lies or something mediocre, his left hand was very fast. He could give you something to teach you a lesson that you must always be truthful. He protected me and my brother, the later Gola, because he was more brave in confronting anybody who attacked us.
For Ida Odinga, who the public has nicknamed the Peace Ambassador, 52 years of marriage could not be summarized in a few minutes, stating that one day she would be able to expound on the man whom she first met at the University of Nairobi.
Just like any other family, there's been ups and downs. But as we continue living together, we've learned how to cope because we all have weaknesses and strengths. We learned to talk straight to one another. We learned to speak the truth.
The tributes highlighted the late Raila Odinga as the patriarch who wore his heart on his sleeve when it came to his family.
Sad to say I'm on my way, won't be back for many a days.
Ida Odinga mirrored more than just the political tribulations that Raila Odinga faced, but the might of a matriarch who was forced to create solid ground when there was none, particularly during the 1982 arrest and detention of the man who shaped politics in Kenya and the legacy of family. Ngena Kirori, NTV, Nairobi.
I thank you, Ngina Kirori, who followed the proceedings yesterday at the Nyayo National Stadium. And of course, this is the state funeral of Right Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga. We'll be getting live pictures from the Mambo Leo Stadium in Kisumu County. We have Ibrahim Karanja stationed there, our own also Michelle Ngale, as well as Oko Kusa, ready to give us details of what transpires. Remember, the aircraft has already left the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport here in Nairobi and is making its way to the Mambo Leo grounds in Kisumu County, where the body will lie in state and the public viewing from Kisumu will begin. But let's head straight to Ibrahim Karanja, who will be speaking to some of the mourners who have already gathered at the Mambo Leo Stadium. Ibrahim?
Well, Zainab, the Mambo Leo grounds is still getting more people. And as we speak, there is an aircraft that has just landed. And it has elated people here. We are not sure who is in that particular aircraft. But the people are so elated. You can see from right behind me, because I've been able to access the terraces, how they have stood to welcome that particular aircraft. And this could be an indicator of how they will welcome the aircraft that will be carrying the remains of Raila Amolo Odinga later today. More people walking in, others standing here at the stadium, at the terraces, and I'll try to speak to a couple of them to see how it is that they remember Raila Amolo Odinga. But just look at the love. Just look at the pictures of the people already in the stadium. Some of them are still dancing, those that we showed earlier, dancing, chanting, mourning, carrying the Kenyan flag high. Are the others holding the flags in their hand just to show the values that Raila Amolo Odinga had on this particular country. And I will seek to speak to some of them to know how they remember Mzee Raila Amolo Odinga and how it is that they hope that this day will pan out. But as is, the stadium is still coming in, it's still surging with crowds. If Jen can show you the pictures of people walking in, then you'll get a feel of how they are directed once they access the stadium, with a couple of police officers standing down there directing everyone to take a right after they come in from gate 6. No one is allowed to go the opposite direction, and that is just to contain the crowd and to ensure that no one accesses the specific access gate before it is officially open, or before the remains of Raila Odinga are placed where it will be viewed from. But let me now speak to some of these residents of Kisumu to know how it is that they want to remember. Let me start. Naomba nizungumze na wewe. You're live on NTV. Nieleze jina lako, then tell me, how will you remember mzee Raila Odinga?
Kwa majina naitwa Christine Okwemba. Mimi natoka Western. Nilitoka Western jana jioni. Nikikuja hapa Kisumu. Tukikumbuka jinsi alivyotupigania, akarudisha watu chini, hiyo jinsi ya maandamano. Sisi bado tunalia baba mpaka wa saa hii. Bado tunamkumbuka kwa vitu mengi. Amepigania Kenya. Yes, ni
Umetoka Western wapi haswa?
Nimetoka Western Kuisero, yeah.
Na ulisafiri hapa kuja tu kutoa heshima kwa Raila Odinga?
Kutoa tu heshima kwa Raila Odinga. Mimi nimelala hapa stadium, nimetoka huko Kakamega.
Asante sana, tunashukuru. Naomba zungumza na wewe ndugu yangu, njoo karibu tu, njoo hapa. Tell me your name. Zungumza kwa Kiingereza ama Kiswahili ile uko sawa. Nieleze utamkumbuka vipi, kamera yako you're live on NTV. Utamkumbuka vipi Raila Amolo Odinga, na umetoka wapi leo hii?
Mimi ni mkaaji hapa Kisumu. Kwa jina naitwa Eric Onyanga Kech. Na kwa siku ya leo na hizo siku zingine tunaweza kumbuka mzee kwa kile amefuatia sisi raia kwa right yetu. First of all, ameleta democracy ambapo sasa tunajivunia. Ameleta ugatuzi, amepigania kila kona ya nchi ya Kenya. Ambapo kama sisi tumeumia. Hatuna amani kwa vile tumepoteza soja yetu. Hakuna mwenye atavaa kiatu chake. Ambapo sasa tunamsindikiza, lakini tuko na huzuni mingi kwa moyoni mwetu. Ambapo ameacha sisi kama tuko standby. So tunamwombea tu Mungu amweke mahali pema peponi. Hiyo tu, sina maneno zingine.
Asante na pole ndugu yangu. Fika hapa saa ngapi leo?
Jana sijarudi kwa nyumba. For the whole night, usiku yote mimi nimekuwa hapa. Sijarudi kwa nyumba kutokea jana vile nilitoka. Since Raila akufe sijaingia kwa nyumba yangu. Niko tu kwa barabara cause nikienda kwa nyumba nitakuwa na huzuni, naanza tu kulia. Cause hivi vile nitaanza.
Asante na pole sana ndugu yangu. Na tujipe nguvu. Naomba nizungumze na mtu mwingine mmoja. Njoo kakangu, karibia tu. Upo moja kwa moja NTV, nielezee unaitwa nani na utamkumbuka vipi Raila Amolo Odinga, lakini niambie umetoka wapi, ulifika hapa saa ngapi?
Kwa majina naitwa Yusuf Saleh. Mimi ni mkazi nimetoka Kiboswa. Nimefika hapa mapema saa 12. Nimekuja kushuhudia the last moment of Raila Amolo Odinga. He has been our father, our enigma. Ametufanyia mengi. He's been a father of democracy, and we shall keep on fighting for what he has put on for Kenyans. Let's maintain peace and be friends and continue building our nation.
You look like a young man. You are a young man. Yeah. And there is that call to always maintain the values of Raila Amolo Odinga. Yeah. And I think there is a chopper coming, a military chopper. This is arriving at the Mamboleo grounds. The pictures, nakuja kuzungumza nyinyi sasa hivi. But Zainab, there is a military chopper landing right now at the Mamboleo grounds again, just like it happened with that other chopper while it was landing. The crowds are elated. Is this the chopper that is carrying the remains of Right Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga? We do not know. But it is landing right at the the Kenyatta rather, at the Jomo Kenyatta Stadium, popularly known as Mamboleo. These are live pictures coming to you from Siaya, and there you have it. The Kenya Air Force military just landing right inside the stadium. A couple of officers inside, and you can see how elated the crowd is. These are the live pictures from here in Kisumu County. This is the writing of history. This is the send-off of the late Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga. This is history being written. The officers, of course, taking stage, are taking their position from here. These are military officers who have just landed and the aircraft is taking off. And you can see the elation. Of course, with each and every aircraft landing, they all expect that perhaps it is the aircraft carrying the remains of Raila Amolo Odinga, but that is not the one. Those are military officers who have arrived and the aircraft has since left the stadium. Let me still speak to more people here to get to now hear again what their thoughts are, how they will remember Raila Amolo Odinga again. Naomba nianze na wewe, njoo tafadhali, karibu.
Asante sana.
Tell me your name, tell me how will you remember Raila Amolo Odinga?
My name is Denise, mimi ni mkaji hapa Kisumu. I remember Raila Amolo Odinga first because he was a great politician. He was a son of the state, and I'm very happy for the changes that he has made here for us. He has really fought for us in a good way, and I can say I'm a Gen Z, but I can feel the impact that this guy left behind. Yeah, and that is why today yesterday we could not even sleep. We just decided let's show up for our guy, let's show up for Baba, because this is one person who is making us to enjoy all these benefits right now. Yeah, because I hear compared to the time our parents were, were kids and stuff, life was not like this. Yeah, I know it has been tough as a nation, but it's even tough mourning Baba. Yeah.
As a Gen Z, how do you intend then to maintain the values of Raila Odinga? Because there is a loud call about people saying Raila Odinga may have died, but his values live on. As a Gen Z, how do you intend to maintain this and uphold the values of Raila Amolo Odinga?
One thing is that Raila was a very transparent person, even though sometimes we did not understand the reason as to why he had to do what he did. Yeah? But we are going to stand with him in this. We are going to just make sure that we stand by what is right. We are going to just fight for our rights like he taught us to. It was a time, we were living in a very tough time, but since he came in and he told us, you can do this. You have to do this. This is the way to go. So that is the way we will go. With or without Raila Odinga, we are going to maintain how he taught us and how he brought us into this life we are living today. We will fight for ourselves.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Let me speak to two last people. I'll start with you, sir. Tell me your name. You are also a Gen Z?
Yes, I'm also a Gen Z. So my name is Emston Onyango, and I'm a Gen Z from Kisumu, from Nyamasaria. We've been here from 6 p.m. We are from yesterday 6 p.m. we were here and we were waiting for Baba because he has left a very big gap that no one can fit in our lives. Yes.
So there's that question I asked your colleague of how will you remember and how will you ensure you live to the values of Raila Amolo Odinga?
First of all, Raila Odinga was a tribeless person. So as Gen Z, and you can see as Gen Z movement, we have decided that to honor the life of Raila, we have to be tribeless. And another thing, Raila maintained peace. So in today's process, we want to ensure that there is peace, and there is peace so that we make sure that Baba Raila Amolo Odinga rests well and is happy that we are maintaining peace.
All right. Thank you. I'm advised to hand over, so I'll do that right now. Then we will come back. All of us will get to pay our respects to Raila Odinga once they come back to us. I humbly beg you. But for now, allow me to hand over back in the other side of Mamboleo grounds where Michelle Ngele Odhiambo is. Michelle, good morning. What is happening from the side that you're in here in Mamboleo grounds?
Well, Ibrahim, I'm standing right where the body of the late former Prime Minister Raila Amolo Odinga will be landing any moment from now. This process was expected to begin at exactly 7 a.m. Security apparatus expected everybody to be seated by 7 a.m. in anticipation of that. Of course, since our progress, especially with security apparatus testing just how the body will land here at the Jomo Kenyatta International Stadium in Mamboleo, Kisumu County. And of course, there's a beehive of activity here at the stadium. Lots lots of residents of Kisumu County, a mammoth crowd outside the Mamboleo Stadium here. And what we see in front of us, Ibrahim, of course, is where the body of the late former Prime Minister will lie, and residents of Kisumu County will be able to view that body. Now, there has been quite a lot of concern over the security situation, considering what we've seen earlier in Nairobi at the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport, at Kasarani Stadium, as well as even at the Nyayo Stadium. But security officials here say they have learned from those two events, and so everything is in course to ensure that there is no disaster taking place today. And so these guards and these security officers here will be the barrier, making sure that the body of the late Prime Minister Raila Odinga is viewed but is safe. All of them promising that there will be lots of security. But remember, part of the security arrangements here was that no one was allowed to sit inside once the body of the late former Prime Minister arrives. And so there are two gates. People will enter from one gate and leave from a completely different gate to, of course, ensure that there is no commotion. So that is a picture right there of where the body of the former Prime Minister Raila Odinga will be. No one else is expected to sit in this dome except his family and their bodyguards and several military officials. But of course, as this is expected to happen, a lot of concern over the Luo cultural rites and traditions that the residents of Kisumu expect to perform on the late Raila Amolo. And in Luo tradition, the cultural beliefs that, or the cultural traditions that take place after death are deeply rooted in the Luo belief of life after death. Their cultural and burial rites that are performed to honor the deceased, to send him or send his spirit off safely, and also to protect the community. And so we've seen several women from the Luo community performing several cultural rites, moving to and fro. Of course, you can see the twigs that the residents and supporters of Raila Odinga have been carrying since his death was announced early on Wednesday morning. Now, according to Luo tradition, remember, even while the news of Raila Odinga's death broke on Wednesday, it wasn't official in Luo land until his elder brother, Oburu Odinga, made his way to Opoda Farm in Bondo to officially announce the death of Raila Odinga. And so even here in Kisumu County, members of the Luo Cultural Council say that they want to be allowed to perform several burial rites, or cultural rites on Raila Odinga before his body is taken to Bondo by road. Now again, many concerns over that plan to transport the body by road to Bondo. Already streets are lined up all the way from Kisumu to Bondo, several town centers where the body is expected to make stopovers. But security officers have also been mulling perhaps even just flying the body to the Jaramogi Odinga University of Science and Technology in Siaya County. But that is something we cannot confirm just yet. So as we speak, we're expecting the body of the former Prime Minister Raila Odinga any moment now. And you can see right in front of me, if my cameraman can show you pictures of security officers now preparing for that chopper to land. And we've seen an influx of people from the entrance now, many of them being stopped from coming in. There's a mammoth crowd even outside the terraces here. Many of them saying that they will be ushering in the body as soon as it arrives. We'll be endeavoring to speak to some of the elders here to understand the cultural rites they seek to perform. But let me take you back to Ibrahim Karanja on the other side of the stadium.
All right, that was Michelle Gale Odhiambo. We'll be getting back to Ibrahim Karanja in just a moment, where he is also standing by at the Jomo Kenyatta Stadium, popularly known as Mamboleo Grounds in Kisumu. The pictures there, of course, showing a specially prepared dais where it has been erected and where the body of Right Honorable Raila Odinga will lie in state. It is going to be draped in the national flag and flanked by a ceremonial guard from the Kenya Defence Forces. And it's a solemn stage for the final public farewell from this sacred space that mourners will come and show their respect and pay their final respects to Raila Amolo Odinga. Just moments ago, a military jet momentarily landed at the stadium, causing a frenzy among thousands gathered there. But the military jet carrying the body of the former Prime Minister Raila Odinga is yet to officially land at the Jomo Kenyatta Stadium there at the Mamboleo grounds. So we are keeping track of the flight, and we'll be giving you details of the moment it is about to land. You can have a look at the pictures there. Of course, the visual representation of the flight tracker giving us details of where it is at the moment, not necessarily exactly knowing where the exact moment or place that is, but we do believe in the next 20 minutes or so, this aircraft will be landing at the Jomo Kenyatta Stadium at the Mamboleo grounds in Kisumu County, as we continue to bring you live coverage of the final journey of the late former Prime Minister Raila Amolo Odinga. This body is expected to arrive in Kisumu shortly. We already have a massive crowd that continues to wait patiently at the stadium and along some of the roads in what is undoubtedly one of the most emotional moments in Kenya's modern history. That military jet is still on its way, and this ceremony will be conducted under in fact, we're seeing the security there. The security situation has been tightened across the region there. The Kenya Defence Forces have already airlifted the body to Kisumu, and thousands are waiting to pay their final respects ahead of the planned burial, and we will be giving you more details there. So we have also seen that the former US President Barack Obama also paid tribute on a post on X. He says Raila Odinga was a true champion of democracy, a child of independence. He endured decades of struggle and sacrifice for the broader cause of freedom and self-governance in Kenya. Time and again, I personally saw him put the interests of his country ahead of his own ambitions. Before I finish that statement by the former US president, we can see yet another military jet or chopper has arrived. We do not know if this is the military jet that is carrying the body of the former Prime Minister. We've seen some of the officers disembark from the aircraft. I believe that is still not the aircraft that is carrying the body of the former Prime Minister Raila Odinga once again. Of course, this causing quite a massive frenzy among the mourners who've gathered there. But that is a flight tracker. We'll be keeping tabs of this flight tracker up until the moment it lands at the Jomo Kenyatta Stadium. That's the Mamboleo grounds in Kisumu. Now back to that post by the former US President Barack Obama. Once again, a post on X and across some of his social media platforms saying Raila Odinga was a true champion of democracy, a child of independence. He endured decades of struggle and sacrifice for the broader cause of freedom and self-governance in Kenya. Time and again, I personally saw him put the interests of his country ahead of his own ambitions. Like few other leaders anywhere, he was willing to choose the path of peaceful reconciliation without compromising his core values. Through his life, Raila Odinga set an example not just for Kenyans, but across Africa and around the world. I know he will be missed. Michelle and I send our deepest condolences to his family and to the people of Kenya. That is that statement from Barack Obama, the former US president, also paying tribute to the late former Prime Minister, Right Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga, as the nation bids farewell and celebrates his life we anticipate public viewing in Kisumu to take place at the Mamboleo grounds, that is at the Jomo Kenyatta Stadium in Kisumu. As you can see, the flight tracker showing that it is entering the Kisumu airspace. So certainly will be landing perhaps any moment from now, and we'll be bringing you the live pictures of when that moment takes place. And the body, of course, is expected any time to arrive from now. The massive crowds at the Mamboleo grounds in Kisumu continues to wait patiently in what is certainly one of the most emotionally charged moments in Kenya's modern history. And even before his body touches the ground in Kisumu, the city there was already alive with mourning and memory, the flags, the songs, quiet prayers from the mourners and some of those who had gathered there, people holding up photos of Raila Odinga, a moment of unity and grief, really where a moment where politics has faded and legacy is all that remains. And there you go. We see the pictures there coming to us live, that military jet landing at this stadium. I believe that is at the stadium in Mamboleo, if I'm not wrong, where the body of the late former Prime Minister Raila Odinga is on board, and it is officially landing. This is going to be conducted under tight security and, of course, full military honors. And we'll be bringing you the live pictures from both those angles to see exactly what will be transpiring. Of course, this marks the next phase of the national farewell. The Kenya Defence Forces airlifted the body to Kisumu, and thousands are awaiting to pay their final respects ahead of the planned burial expected to happen on Sunday. Those are live pictures coming to us, and of course the flight tracker showing that the military aircraft has already landed, about to make a stop. And from there, what we're going to witness is the body of the late former Prime Minister, Right Honorable Raila Odinga, which will be disembarked or removed from the aircraft, and it will be taken straight to the stadium at the dais, which has been specially prepared, within which Raila Odinga will lie in state. It's going to be draped in the national flag, and of course this to symbolize his stature and the importance he holds in this country. And that platform standing there, it is where the mourners will file past in a show of respect, reverence and collective grief as they pay their last respects. Those are the pictures coming to us live, and we'll be getting more details, of course, from both Ibrahim Karanja, Michelle Ngela Odhiambo, as well as Okukusa, who were stationed across different parts of the Mamboleo grounds at the Jomo Kenyatta Stadium to give us a feel and sounds of what is currently happening there. Of course, mourners charged with emotion, just waiting for the body of the Right Honorable Raila Odinga to be placed at the special dais so that they can pay their final respect. And of course, after today's events in Kisumu, the body will be transported to his Bondo home in Siaya County. There, the burial will take place. The security in that place has been heightened across the region, really, and we expect addresses from key national leaders in the country, including President William Ruto and members of Odinga's family, who will reflect on his legacy, not just as a political icon, but as a father, as a grandfather, and as the patriot many know him to be, not just in the country, but across the continent as well, and the land. Now his body has landed in Kisumu, the lakeside city that has always stood behind him. All eyes at the Jomo Kenyatta Stadium at the Mamboleo grounds, where a special dais has been erected, a raised platform draped in national colors. It's being guarded by the Kenya Defense Forces. This will be the space where thousands will walk past and say their final goodbye. It is the same stadium where he held political rallies at some point. He gave speeches that electrified crowds and now becomes a sanctuary of remembrance. And in the crowd are youth who only know him as Baba, you know, elders who remember his father, and families, many of whom felt seen and heard through Raila's tireless advocacy. We saw many holding candles from yesterday. Some of the young people draped in the national flag as well. We've heard those who are singing, we've heard hymns and even quiet weeping. All right, and of course, this is not just a farewell, it is a collective expression of gratitude. And once the viewing is done, the body will be escorted in a slow ceremonial procession to Bondo in Siaya County, the family's ancestral home. That is where the burial will take place tomorrow, guided by both state and I want to believe Luo cultural traditions, but it is going to be a private ceremony according to the wishes of the family. And so as we wait to see what happens next, because we understand that the plane has touched down, these are live pictures of what is currently happening. Let us take you live to the Mamboleo grounds to hear what is happening at the moment.
Upendo nitakuimbia ili kugharimu msalabani unifie. Hivyo inanibidi sifa nikuimbie. Wema wako niseme ili na wengine wakujue. Wote waungane nami na wazee 24 na siwezi jizuia kusema wako wema. Na sio kama mienendo yangu na tabia zangu zikupendeze, kuvaa kwangu na kunena kwangu kukupendeze. Mienendo yangu na tabia zangu zikupendeze, kuvaa kwangu na kunena kwangu. Naomba nifanane nawe Yesu, niwe jinsi upendavyo. Nifanane nawe Yesu, niwe jinsi upendavyo. Niguze, nifinyage, unibebe, niunde, nitengeneze, niwe kama wewe. Nikupendeze, 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 nikupendeze. Familia yangu, marafiki zangu, tuwe sawa nawe.
Asante.
Biashara,
Asante sana. Jothuru untie.
A moment heavy with history, emotion, and national reflection. We are receiving live images now from Kisumu International Airport, where the military aircraft carrying the body of former Prime Minister Raila Odinga has just touched down after days of mourning across the country and indeed across the world. The body of the most iconic sons has returned to the land of his people, to the place where his journey began, to Kisumu, a region that gave him love, loyalty, and legacy. The aircraft, a Kenya Air Force jet, landed just minutes ago under tight security. Well, on board is not just the body of Raila Odinga, but also close members of his family, senior government officials, and military escorts tasked with overseeing this national transition of grief and honor. And of course, what we are seeing right now is the preparation of what will be the next phase of this process, where the body will be removed from the aircraft before they make their way to the Jomo Kenyatta Stadium at the Mamboleo grounds, where thousands of mourners are awaiting. We're seeing a lot of military personnel there. Perhaps a military honor guard will move into position, and the flag-draped casket will be offloaded and placed atop a carriage. And a final salute to a man whose political life was certainly defined by courage, resistance, and a relentless pursuit of justice. For those joining us, this marks the beginning of the final leg of Raila Odinga's farewell journey. From the airport, the body will be escorted in a slow-moving motorcade to the Jomo Kenyatta Stadium at the Mamboleo grounds, where a national public viewing will take place. Already, tens of thousands have already gathered at the stadium. Songs of mourning and praise filling the air. Many are holding placards and photos, some of which date back to his early days in politics. For them, this is not just a loss. This is quite personal. And what we are witnessing now as the casket is being prepared to be offloaded from the aircraft by uniformed pallbearers, and it's going to be lowered. I want to believe that's what is happening at the moment, but we will follow what we are also seeing on the screens. Of course, those are live pictures coming to us from the Kisumu airport. And we expect that after this process is completed, that the procession will leave the airport, will move through the city and give the people a chance to catch a final glimpse of the cortege before the casket is placed at the viewing platform at the Jomo Kenyatta Stadium in Kisumu. Security has been heavily deployed throughout the city. We know that the county commissioner confirmed that their teams are in place to ensure a smooth and peaceful procession. We have the Kenya Police, military personnel and medical teams that have been stationed along the route. And across the country, the mood remains somber. As we continue to bring you live pictures of what is happening at the Kisumu airport, the body of the late former Prime Minister, Right Honorable Raila Odinga, is being prepared to be offloaded from the military aircraft. And of course, we await more information from some of the family members who are expected to be at the airport. And of course, we also see, we've seen Maurice Ogeta, personal assistant to the former Prime Minister there, and he has been with him throughout. And we are bringing you live pictures as we get them at the moment. We can see the national flag. I believe that is what will be draped upon or across the casket of the former Prime Minister. For those joining us, this marks the beginning of the final leg of Raila Odinga's farewell journey. From the airport, the body will be escorted in a slow-moving motorcade to the Jomo Kenyatta Stadium at the Mamboleo grounds, where national public viewing will take place. Already, like we'd seen earlier on, tens of thousands have already gathered at the stadium. Songs of mourning and praise filling the air, many holding placards and photos, some of which date back to his early days in politics. And for them, this is not just a loss, it's personal. Many have grown up under his leadership, and others feel, like we had from the young people who spoke to Ibrahim Karanja earlier on, owing him the freedoms that we now enjoy. And we expect after what will happen here at the Mamboleo Stadium, the procession will leave and will head to Bondo in Siaya County. And of course, across the country, the mood remains somber. Flags continue to fly at half-mast, and Kenyans watching this moment in collective silence, a rare moment in time where the nation pauses not for an election or a crisis, but to say goodbye to a figure for many embodied the soul of Kenya's democratic journey. Those are live pictures coming to us both from outside and inside the Jomo Kenyatta Stadium at the Mamboleo grounds. Well, Raila Odinga may not have sat in the presidential chair, but he held something quite greater from what we're witnessing now. I mean, the trust of millions and the scar of struggle, the power of conviction. He was Kenya's prime minister, a prisoner of conscience, a Pan-Africanist, a son of Siaya, and now, for many, a man who's left a legacy and marked his name in the history books of this country. Well, as we await the official reception speeches and the beginning of the public viewing and the process that we expect and the event to officially begin at the Jomo Kenyatta Stadium at the Mambo Leo grounds, we continue to follow this historic day closely. We will be taking you live to what is happening at the Kisumu airport, and these are also live pictures of what is happening at the Jomo Kenyatta Stadium at the Mambo Leo grounds, and where crowds have gathered in anticipation of what to expect during the process and the day up until the last moment, where that procession will be making its way to Siaya County, that is in Bondo, the home of Raila Amolo Odinga. Let's just get some sounds from what is happening at the Mambo Leo Stadium at the moment.
Siempre
For those joining us, thank you once again as we bring you live pictures both from the Kisumu International Airport and outside and inside the Jomo Kenyatta Stadium Mamboleo grounds, where the state funeral service of Right Honorable Raila Odinga will be taking place. And of course, live pictures there showing the atmosphere remaining deeply emotional and the city quite literally at a standstill from the moment news got in that Raila Odinga's body has touched down in Kisumu City. We have seen the streets line up with the residents, mourners, hoping to catch a last glimpse and pay their final respects to the man who has certainly shaped the political history, not just of that region, but of the entire country. I'd like us to cross over live to Oko Kusa, who is at the Jomo Kenyatta Stadium at the Mamboleo grounds, to also just give us a feel and an idea of what is happening at the moment. Oko, good morning.
Well, good morning, Zainab. Actually, just a slight correction there. I'm actually outside the Kisumu International Airport, where a huge crowd of mourners have gathered and are waiting anxiously for the body of the former Prime Minister Raila Odinga, which they understand is currently inside the airport, right behind me there, behind the cordon area by the military. Chanting, and of course the police have also intensified the security here and maybe I'll just speak to a couple of them,
Oko Kusa, they're giving us details. It's coming to us live from the Kisumu International Airport, of course, where the body of the late former Prime Minister, Right Honorable Raila Odinga, has touched down. He is speaking to some of the mourners. You can feel the sheer amount of grief and the mourning there. We could not get the sound. We're going to fix that, and we'll be getting back to Oko Kusa to give us more details on some of the reactions from the mourners who've arrived there. And of course, we'd like to understand what event will take place there before the procession makes its way to the Mamboleo grounds, that is at the Jomo Kenyatta Stadium, where thousands of mourners have already gathered, some in silence, some in song, and some you can see in quite deep reflection. We will be getting to Oko Kusa in just a moment. And of course, all eyes are focused from the Kisumu International Airport, which will make its way, where that procession will make its way to the Jomo Kenyatta Stadium at the Mamboleo grounds. Of course, this is not an ordinary day in Kisumu. It's not even an ordinary funeral. It is the farewell of a lifetime, the final homecoming of Raila Odinga, a man whose name has been synonymous with the dreams and the democratic struggles of this nation. From as early as dawn, we saw mourners arriving, some in buses, some in borders, some on foot, all roads leading to the Mamboleo grounds. And of course, some of the people have also traveled from Siaya, others from Homa Bay, Kakamega, and some even from Nairobi, for those who did not get a chance to pay their final respects. And at the gates, security personnel are screening crowds carefully. Inside, we see there is quite calm, some respectful silence even, and also the chants of Baba and Tinga every so often. The atmosphere is charged but peaceful. It's really a testament of the dignity of the moment. And these are live pictures from the ground. You can see that security has been heightened and heavily deployed, not just within the stadium, but throughout the city of Kisumu, and of course across the country as well, the mood remains somber. Flags continue to fly at half-mast, and it is a rare time when the nation pauses not just for any moment, not just an election or a crisis, but to say goodbye to a figure who for many embodied the soul of Kenya's democratic journey. I believe Oko Kusa is back with us. I'd like us to link up with him once again. He is at the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport. Let's see what's happening.
Well, Zainab, as I'd mentioned earlier, I'm actually outside the Kisumu International Airport, where a huge crowd has formed in anticipation that the body of the former Prime Minister Raila Odinga will be getting out of the facility any moment from now and making its way to the Jomo Kenyatta Stadium in Mamboleo Grounds. And right here I have a couple of residents who are anxious maybe to share what they feel about the whole thing, what the anticipation is today, and of course what the expectation is. Maybe let's start with this gentleman here. Start by introducing yourself.
Okay, I'm Jackson Otieno by name. I have a deep sorrow concerning the death of our leader Raila Odinga, and I have only one message that I would like to tell Kenyans and ODM members. I would like to tell my fellow ODM members that we stay where Raila Odinga left us in the government. That will be a very big achievement that we will get from his death. Otherwise, I'm saying sorry, and we have left alone. ODM MPs and everyone, let us stay where we were left in the government. That is my main point to our MPs and all leaders in Kenya. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Maybe let's take another gentleman here.
Kwa majina naitwa Baraka Lumarua, Chairman Airport. Raila, tunataka kuona Raila hapa. Wacha kusika. Raila, tunangoja Raila hapa. Tunataka kusindi mpaka Mamboleo.
Sawa, mwingine.
Naitwa Eunice Onyango, na huzuni sana kwa kuomboleza. We are sad as a country and we are heartbroken. May Raila rest in peace. Mimi kwa majina ni Angelina Tieno. Tunaomboleza Raila kama kiongozi wetu hapa Kisumu. Tunasema kwa Wakenya wote, kwa Jaluo, tuzidi kukua kwa government. Ametuacha kwa Ruto, tubaki hapo. Next election tukue tu hapo. Asanteni.
Basi kwa jina naitwa Roselina Nakwiri. Na nyinga iluongo Roselina Nakwiri.
Kiswahili tafadhali mami.
Kiswahili. Kwa jina Roselina Nakwiri. Mimi ni mkaaji hapa Kisumu. Raila ni kama baba yetu, tunampenda, lakini kenye imetokea nimesanga tena zaidi. Lakini Mungu atulinde, Mungu anajua. Sijui kama Mungu alisahau akatuma malaika pia amesahau wakafikiria kuchukua Raila. Nimesanga. Asanteni, sina mengi, niko na uchungu.
Na wacha tupate mwingine from this end.
Amagola Patrick. We have lost a king, a hero, a man of peace. But now the question is, who will fill that gap? May Baba rest in peace. Joey!
Haya, sawa. Wacha mwingine.
Yes, kaka Njetelo Makisumu.
Kiswahili tafadhali.
Nasema hivi bana. Sahi watu wa Kisumu bana, tafadhali tukue na imani kwa sababu bana baba amezala hapa kidogo. Sasa tungoje tu hapa kwa gate. Tuandamane pole mpaka Mamboleo. Peace. Asanteni. Baba Joey.
Okay, it's okay. So, let's get another person.
Kwa majina naitwa Sharon Adhiambo Jeje. Asubuhi ya leo tuko na huzuni sana kama watu wa Kisumu, lakini kile naweza sema, Baba rest in peace. Na kama watu wa Kisumu wacha tukue na amani, tuzindikize baba kwa amani na kwa heshima. Asanteni.
Wacha tuongee na huyu mwingine tafadhali.
Niko hapa.
Okay.
Kwa majina naitwa Beatrice Atieno. Tuko na huzuni kubwa hapa Kisumu, najua hatutapata mwingine kama Raila Odinga. Mwenyezi Mungu amlaze mahali pema peponi. Asante.
Kwa majina naitwa David Omondi. Leo tuko na huzuni sana hapa airport na tunatamani tukue na peace, tuende tuone Raila Stadium, atuona mengi. Baba peke yake ndio tunakumombeleza leo.
Mimi naitwa Vivian Awino. Saa hii tunalia baba. Hakuna kitu kingine tena. Baba tunalia. Joey!
Mimi kama Charles Opio mkao wa Kisumu, nataka niseme kwamba tunapomsindikiza baba tukue na amani na utulivu ili baba aweze kwenda kwa amani na muweze kubarikiwa. Joey! Joey!
Lakini tuko na uchungu sana ya baba. Hivi!
Sawa. Mwingine
Kwa majina naitwa Jacqueline Awino. Tuko hapa kuomboleza baba. Kenye tunataka ni amani. Huyu alikuwa mtu wetu na tunampenda. Joey!
mimi ni Martino Vera. Sina maneno mengi ya kusema, niko tuna huzuni. Asante.
Basi asante. Kwa majina naitwa Pamela Chie. Lakini tuko na huzuni sana kwa kifo ya baba. Baba alikuwa mtetezi ya watu wa Kenya. Najiuliza kwa roho yangu tumebaki na nani juu hata sasa tuko hapa na kuna mtu wetu mmoja amesapigwa na rungo na maafisa wa polisi. Kitu najiuliza ni kitu moja. Tumebaki na nani na nani atatetea watu wa Kenya na watoto wetu? Ni hiyo tu, lakini kama ni Mungu akikuwa amesuka hapa duniani, ningechukua maisha yangu hata ya siku 5 hata ya mwaka moja niongeze baba. Akae Kenya tulinde. Ni hiyo tu.
Kisumu ya morning. The leadership icon has gone. Who will take us? Nani atatutetea? Raila Odinga. Vibaya. Naitwa Millicent Obiero. Tuko hapa Kisumu, tuko na huzuni mwingi. Tumemlose nini? A very tough icon in our country. We are very sad. Raila Odinga.
Yes. Mimi kwa majina naitwa Felix Jackson Owino. Tuko hapa tunaomboleza baba. Sisi kama majenzi wa Kisumu tuko na huzuni sana juu tumempoteza kiongozi wetu mwenye tulikuwa tunamwangalia, tulikuwa tunamishia kwa kila kitu. Lakini Kenya tungependa kuomba leo watu wakuwe na amani na polisi pia tafadhali waweke ulinzi vizuri. Si mambo na kufanya vurugu ile watu wataleta kelele ndio wapige wananchi risasi. Tunaomba amani na tuomboleze baba na amani sana. Hiyo ndio amani.
Sana, asante sana. Wacha mami aongee.
Kwa majina naitwa Zilpa Otieno, ni mkazi wa hapa Kisumu Airport. Sisi hapa kama watu wa Kisumu tuna masikitiko makubwa kwa sababu ya kifo cha Raila. Naweza kumkumbuka 2007 wakati walikuwa kwenye maungano kati yao na Ruto. Hiyo 2007 wakati waliweza kufurishwa. Kile ninaweza kumkumbuka nacho ni kwamba alituma yale magari ya budget tukiwa Naivasha prison ili yaweze kutuleta Nyanza kama watu wa Nyanza. Na tena ningeomba serikali na wanasiasa wote wa Kenya ya kwamba ile amani ambayo baba alidumisha waweze kuidumisha, kama President Ruto aweze kudumisha amani katika nchi ya Kenya mpaka wakati atatamasha uongozi wake, na serikali yote wote MCA women rep kwa ujumla wote wadumishe amani ile iliyokuwepo tangu awali wakati baba alikuwa mpaka wakati Yesu atarudi. Kwa majina naitwa Pamela. Mimi kwangu ni uchungu sana, sina mengi, naambia tu wa Kenya wote pole, Raila aende salama.
Kwa majina naitwa Morina War. Mimi niko hapa kupokea mwili wa Raila. Niko na huzuni sana.
Asante. Tupate mwingine kwa sababu.
My name is Faith Odhiambo. We are here to celebrate baba. Hapa kwa ajili ya baba wetu Raila Odinga. Tinga enigma. Tuko na huzuni sana kumpoteza baba wetu aliyekuwa anatutetea kama sisi watu wa GNZ. Tunaomba tu amani. Joey!
Well, just getting information that the chopper that is likely to be carrying the body of the late former Prime Minister Raila Odinga will be lifting up from the
The sheer amount of emotion there at the Kisumu International Airport, of course, Okukusa, speaking to some of the residents who are there waiting, already lining the streets, not just here to witness, but to say goodbye. And not just any goodbye, but a final one. You could hear from the emotion and grief they speak from, because for many here in Kisumu, this is the man they grew up supporting. You know, for others, the only political leader they've ever known, determined to be part of this moment. And you could tell even in that sea of emotion, one sound rising again and again, chanting that famous term, Joey. You know, we're told that this cry is often used during funerals of great figures in Luo culture. A call not only of grief, but of recognition, acknowledging that a pillar has fallen, a protector has rested, or a warrior that has laid down his sword. It is worth noting the security situation there, both at the Kisumu International Airport, across and throughout the city, up to the stadium, the Mamboleo Stadium, that the county administration, together with the national government, have done a remarkable work in managing today's unprecedented gathering. Of course, the entire Mamboleo area turned into a secure space where all the mourners, especially the people from that region, can pay their final respects to their son. And indeed, the stadium has historical weight today, by the way. It is here that the body will lie in state, here that official tributes will be read, and here that prayers will be offered and hymns will be sung, and also here that Raila Odinga's final journey to Bondo will also begin. And throughout the Kisumu, really that lakeside city, there is a sense, an atmosphere of grief and also calm. You know, we've seen discipline, you know, not imposed but inspired, because Raila Odinga was never just a politician to these people. He was family. And today that family is doing him proud as we continue to monitor what takes place. We expect to see the procession from the Kisumu International Airport make its way to the Mamboleo grounds at the Jomo Kenyatta Stadium. And while we wait for that to happen, of course, you can just tell this important moment of reflection and what it truly represents. We can see a military jet that is landing at the Mamboleo Stadium. We're going to see what that means if the body of the late former Prime Minister, Right Honorable Raila Odinga, will be there. But you can see the mourners have gathered, all have been seated. It is 58 minutes past 7 a.m., just 2 minutes to 8 a.m. We follow the program and the schedule. Of course, we understood that the body was expected to arrive at the stadium around this time, around 8 a.m. So we anticipate to see what is happening there. And we can... all right, so I believe this is where the body of the late Right Honorable Raila Odinga will be now offloaded from that military jet, and will be headed to the dais, that special dais that has been prepared, where people will be allowed to pay their final respects. He will lie in state there, and this is happening according to the ceremonial event or guard from the Kenya Defense Forces. I'd like us to just get some sounds on the ground as we see what's happening at the moment. Live pictures coming to us from the Kisumu airport. What we're witnessing, a moment of profound national emotion as the body of the late former Prime Minister, Right Honorable Raila Odinga, being officially offloaded from the military aircraft that landed about half an hour ago at the Kisumu International Airport. On your screens now, the casket draped in the Kenyan flag, carefully being carried out by a military honor guard dressed in full ceremonial uniform. It is a moment that is being marked by both discipline and deep sorrow as Kenya receives, and Kisumu indeed receives, the body of one of her greatest sons. We can see that security has been heightened across and throughout the city, and the Kenya Defence Forces stand at full attention within the stadium. We believe that once that process has arrived, or that process has concluded at the airport, the procession will make its way to the Jomo Kenyatta Stadium at the Mambo Leo grounds. Well, this is not just a military protocol, it is a people's goodbye. Starting with this symbolic return to the land where Raila's journey also began. Around the airport perimeter, crowds have gathered in the thousands, quietly watching from a distance, and there is some stillness in the air as well, and the hearts of those watching heavy in silence for this particular moment. And of course, soon the casket will be placed on a ceremonial carriage and escorted by a full convoy toward the Jomo Kenyatta Stadium in Mambo Leo, where public viewing will take place. But as for now, the body is being carefully received by the KDF pall bearers. We have the live pictures there as well from the Jomo Kenyatta Stadium, Mambo Leo grounds, as the military personnel and Kenyans at large, the mourners, the thousands of mourners who've gathered at the stadium, are waiting for that procession to make its way to the stadium so that the public viewing can begin and they can pay their final respects for the son of the land. And of course, later on, the procession will make its way to Bondo at the Odinga homestead at the Opoda farm in Siaya County, ahead of the burial, which is expected to happen on Sunday. And of course, those are live pictures from the Kisumu airport. It is a military protocol. We see that the casket draped with the national flag placed on that carriage that is now slowly moving away from the aircraft, surrounded by top officials and some of our national leaders as well, accompanying the casket, and military personnel at the airport accompanying it so that they can begin the journey to the stadium where thousands are witnessing. It is a moment of profound national emotion for those who are watching, those who are witnessing that the moment there personally at the airport, those watching across the country, and those waiting at the stadium. The body of the late Right Honorable Raila Odinga, which has officially been offloaded from the military aircraft that landed about half an hour ago at the Kisumu International Airport. And actually that is the Kenya Airways flight, the aircraft that carried the former Prime Minister. We're going to follow to see what happens next and the protocol the military will be using to transport the remains of the former Prime Minister all the way to the stadium, where mourners have certainly gathered, and of course will be waiting to pay their last respects to the Right Honorable Raila Odinga. Certainly at this hour, Kisumu remains completely at a standstill. It is the kind rarely seen outside other national ceremonies, but today it is a different type of grief and celebration, a quiet reverence, an overwhelming emotion, and also a deep sense of loss. And we see that the courage is now being transported and slowly moving away from the aircraft as we wait to see what happens next, which is how that body will be transported to the stadium. Will it be by road, or will it be by the military aircraft that is standing by there? And of course, this is currently what is happening. A solemn moment, but of course, a moment of profound national emotion, and the body of the late Right Honorable Raila Odinga that was offloaded from the aircraft moments ago at the Kisumu International Airport. The casket draped in the Kenyan flag being moved carefully by a military honor guard dressed in full ceremonial uniform. It is a moment marked by both discipline and deep sorrow. And of course, we can see the honor, the guard of honor, the military guard of honor, moving the carriage slowly away from the aircraft that it arrived in, and the casket that is being guarded carefully from the aircraft moving, followed by close family and friends, and of course also members of the Odinga family. You can also see there Raila's longtime bodyguard Maurice Ogeta, who was there, who's also been deeply emotional. Of course, he's been the late Raila Odinga's bodyguard, and he has been there from the moment that the news broke out of the death of the former Prime Minister, and the emotions that we saw. Of course, we saw a tear drop from his eye, and trembling in his steps as he made his way throughout on Raila Odinga's side, by his side, offering comfort even as mourners looked on in silence. And there you have it, the final journey of Right Honorable Raila Odinga. A full military guard of honor dressed in full ceremonial uniform, accompanying the casket draped in the Kenyan flag. It is on a special carriage, and this is what is happening at the Kisumu International Airport. Of course, we wait to see what happens next and how they intend to transport the body of the late former Prime Minister, Right Honorable Raila Odinga, to the Jomo Kenyatta Stadium at the Mamboleo grounds. The Kenya Defence Forces standing at full attention, and the ceremonial handover will begin. This is certainly not just a military protocol. It is a people's goodbye, starting with this symbolic return to the land where Raila Odinga's journey began. They will be loading the remains of the former Prime Minister inside the military aircraft that is on standby. Let us cross over live at the airport to listen to what is happening on ground. right, those are live pictures coming to us from the Kisumu International Airport, if you're just joining us. And of course, the streets are lining up to the Jomo Kenyatta Stadium at the Mamboleo grounds, and certainly history unfolding before our very eyes. A solemn chapter in Kenya's national memory. What we're witnessing is the transfer of Raila Odinga's body, which has now been transferred from the Kenya Airways aircraft that brought him home in Kisumu into a military aircraft that will now carry him on the final flight of his extraordinary journey to the Jomo Kenyatta Stadium at Mamboleo grounds, where thousands are already waiting in mourning, in memory as well as in gratitude. This is not a long flight in distance, perhaps just minutes in the air, but in meaning it is quite vast. We have seen the military protocol that has taken place there. Of course, the honor and in honor of the legacy and the man Raila Odinga means for the history of this country. And of course, this handover from the national carrier to the military, marking one of the highest level of honors accorded by the state. It is a symbolic of a man who carried the nation's hopes for decades and who never served as president, but who was in every other sense a statesman of the people. Now, as we watch, the casket still draped in the national flag being carried, and of course it was being carried by a full military pallbearer unit. We are reminded of the weight not just of the wood and cloth, but of legacy. Raila Odinga endured quite a long political history in Kenya. You know, he led movements. He held the country together in chaos in some of those moments, and also gave voice to generations that came after him. Just moments ago, or maybe about 40 minutes ago, the Kenya Airways flight touched down at the Kisumu International Airport. It had been a quiet descent, a reverent stillness, really, even as thousands gathered outside the airport to get a glimpse of Raila Odinga and to pay their final respects. The aircraft doors opened to a guard of honor. We saw some family members. We saw some of the party official members of ODM and other national leaders as well. Top military officials also in silence, standing there as the casket was being removed with utmost care. And now what we saw is a symbolic gesture, placing the body of Baba into the Kenya Air Force aircraft for the final ceremonial airlift to the waiting crowd there at the Jomo Kenyatta Stadium at the Mamboleo grounds. You can see the security situation there, the tight security, but mourners that have already lined up the streets all the way from the airport are waiting for Baba to land at the Jomo Kenyatta Stadium, Mamboleo grounds. Of course, mourners in their thousands are on their feet, and also the clergy that have lined up in preparation for prayer. Earlier on, we could hear the crowd chanting, "Joey, Joey." A mourning cry really reserved for great leaders in the Luo tradition. It's an acknowledgement that someone irreplaceable has fallen. It is a mixed sense of emotion for those who are sitting still in their grief, for those who are mourning in song and dance, for those who are celebrating him in different ways. And now that crowd will be lifting their eyes to the sky, because soon above the city of Kisumu, that single military plane will be flying low once it lifts from the airport and once the preparations to airlift begins. And they will know that Baba has arrived, and the aircraft, as we understand, will perform perhaps a low ceremonial fly past before landing directly at the Mamboleo grounds, but we are yet to confirm that. That is something we understand might happen. And of course, where the landing strip has already been secured by the Kenya Defence Forces. And from there, the casket will be escorted by a full military motorcade into the stadium and placed upon the state viewing dais where the public tributes will begin. We've seen the dais, there it is on your screen, and the military guarding it very intensely there. Every step of this journey has been quite deliberate, you know, symbolic, measured in reverence. You can see some of the Luo traditions taking place there at the stadium, paying tributes. Every single Mona there paying their own tribute in the very best way they know how to, for this man who symbolizes something great, not just for the Luo Nyanza region, but for the entire nation, reflecting the depth of Raila Odinga's impact, not just in politics, but the lives of ordinary citizens. Again, not just for those within that region, but for the nation. And for many who speak about, you know, his attempts at the presidency, truly, he never did hold the presidency, but yet today he is being honored with full state protocols, military precision, and the kind of love and mourning usually reserved for heads of state. The final leg of the journey, short as it may be, carries the spirit of a long life spent fighting for justice, equity, as well as democracy. So we'll stay with these live images as the aircraft prepares to lift off. There you have it, quite ready for that lift off. The pallbearers stepping back, and of course we also saw some of the family members standing close by, and we'll be hearing the hum of the engines in just a moment. The nation watching closely as this event takes place. The people of Kisumu, the people of Kenya, and across the continent as well, watching. And they will be lifting their eyes, watching the skies, just waiting to see what takes place next, because in that aircraft is more than a casket. It is actually the weight of memory, the weight of people's struggle. This man who symbolized that. The journey of Raila Amolo Odinga, now on his final flight home. There you have it, live pictures, and we see what is happening now. That military aircraft about to take off, that is carrying him on his final flight of this extraordinary journey. Of course, thousands waiting for him in mourning at the Jomo Kenyatta Stadium at the Mamboleo grounds. Certainly not a long flight in distance, just a couple of minutes that this aircraft will be in the air. It will be a short distance, but in terms of meaning, it is quite vast. And that handover that we saw from the national carrier to the military, it is one of the highest levels of honors accorded by the state, a symbolic gesture, you know, for a man who's definitely carried the nation's hopes for decades. We saw his struggle and his history. He's made and he's left his name marked or etched deeply in the books of history of this nation. He served in many different capacities. He did not serve as president, but who was, in every other sense, a statesman of the people. And of course, thousands, tens of thousands of mourners are on their feet waiting. We can see the choirs singing softly. You can see those members of the ODM party adorned in the orange party, because Raila Amolo Odinga was the party leader of ODM. And of course, he loved and he revered and he has led ODM party for all these years. and it symbolized, the movement that he led. We saw in the crowd those who were chanting, different things, including Joey. You can remember he used to chant the same, Joey, Joey. And, a mourning cry really reserved for the great leaders, great warriors within the Luo tradition, an acknowledgement that someone irreplaceable has fallen. There you have it, that aircraft about to lift off from the Kisumu airport, that's the Kisumu International Airport, making its way to the stadium there at the Jomo Kenyatta Stadium, Mamboleo grounds. Every step of this journey being quite deliberate, symbolic, and measured in reverence. We will see what happens next, and of course, this entire process reflecting the depth of Raila's impact, not just in politics, like I said, but in the lives of ordinary citizens across the nation. And the final leg of this journey, short as it may be, does carry the spirit of a long life spent fighting for justice, equity, and democracy in this country. So we continue to stay with these live images as the aircraft lifts off. We will be confirming if the aircraft is just lifted off is the one that is carrying the remains of the late former Prime Minister, Right Honorable Raila Odinga, and we'll be giving you details in just a moment. And truly, in that aircraft is certainly more than a casket. It carries the weight of memory, the people's struggle, and the journey of Raila Odinga, now on his final flight back home. That is what we are seeing, and of course, we anticipate to see in the next few minutes that the process will continue at the stadium. The people of Kisumu have been gathering in the stadium. The night vigils that have been happening from yesterday evening and even throughout the entire day yesterday, just waiting for this moment, waiting to say goodbye and pay their final respects. The leaders who've already arrived at the stadium will be a part of that moment. A moment wrapped in history indeed, the kind that actually steals a crowd, and of course, thousands rising to their feet in reverence as the aircraft slowly lifts off. We will be seeing the aircraft that will be arriving at the stadium any moment from now. We will be confirming if the we saw an aircraft that lifted a few moments ago, but we want to confirm which aircraft that is carrying the remains of the Right Honorable Raila Odinga, whether it has already lifted or whether it is the one that we are seeing on our screens at the moment. But right here, you can see the grounds ready to receive that body. It has become a sacred space indeed. The stadium has been prepared for the past 2 days, now in full solemn mode, and you can just feel the atmosphere from here. Tributes and public mourning. The military honor guard already in formation, waiting. Their white gloves, some are wearing their white gloves as well. Some in their polished boots, waiting for this moment. The kind reserved only for the highest state of honors, or the highest state honors. And of course, for many who are waiting for this, we can see the leaders have already arrived, and the aircraft there, live on your screen. We will be confirming whether that is the aircraft that is carrying the remains of the late former Prime Minister, Right Honorable Raila Odinga. We saw his casket draped in the Kenyan flag, surrounded at that moment in still silence, and the moment that this aircraft has landed, you can feel the atmosphere and the crowd that is charging up to receive their own son. And across the stadium, those who are chanting, people holding photos of Raila, some raising them high, others pressing them to their chests, hands in prayers, and of course others also holding back their tears. The word on many lips is Baba. We saw the chant heard earlier, Joey, Joey, now returning in soft murmurs, a cultural cry, a collective farewell, and certainly a final salute. Let's cross over live to the stadium to understand and also just listen in to what is happening on ground at the moment before we come back with more details.
Yes,
live pictures of the lakeside city of Kisumu as the city gears up for an emotional and historic moment when the body of the former Prime Minister Raila Odinga arrives for public viewing at the Jomo Kenyatta Stadium in Mamboleo, Kisumu County. Now, thousands of mourners across the Nyanza region have thronged their way to the Jomo Kenyatta Stadium here, many of them to pay their last respects to a man whose political life shaped Kenya's democracy for more than 4 decades. It is an event marking the final leg of the nationwide tributes that have drawn massive crowds since Raila Odinga's death was announced in India on Wednesday.
Yes, it is a very important day for the people of Kisumu, and also a very important journey for the family of Raila Odinga, friends of Raila Odinga, because that touchdown that we have on our screen right now is a touchdown that the people in this stadium today and the people in Kisumu were waiting for, because finally the viewing of the body of Raila Odinga will be starting 35 minutes past the indicated time. We had hoped that the touchdown will happen at 8 a.m. It is right now 8:35 a.m. But nonetheless, you can see, Michelle, the kind of reaction that we are observing from the terraces, how the people are receiving the body of their hero. This is their king. And later on, we'll be speaking to why this particular venue is very significant. Because remember, up until the handshake time, there was no stadium at this particular point. This stadium came in with Raila Odinga playing a very, very critical role under the regime of President Uhuru Kenyatta, and thus his body being brought here carries a lot of weight. He saw this particular stadium being constructed. He was here for the launching of this particular stadium when it was first used. Remember, even President Uhuru Kenyatta, accompanied by Raila Odinga during that handshake time, even hosted the very first national celebration from this particular venue. And it is here that his body is now brought back for viewing. I have spoken to people on the terraces, and these are people who are coming from across the region. I spoke to a lady who was coming from Huisero, that is in Kakamega County. She said she traveled yesterday specifically for this. And that shows the kind of love, Michelle, that the people here have. What else do you expect?
Absolutely, Ibrahim. I mean, as you mentioned, that airfares from the Nairobi-Kisumu route have tripled, even quadrupled in the last few hours, as many expect to make their way not just to Kisumu, but also to Bondo to pay their last respects to Raila Odinga. So not just Kenyans and locals, but also international dignitaries and international guests are all making their way to Kisumu and Bondo. And so we've seen even the Kenya Airways expand its fleet from Nairobi to Kisumu to enable more Kenyans to make their way to Kisumu ahead of this public viewing of the body here and its transportation to Bondo, the final resting place of Raila Odinga. And of course, we're expecting the body to touch down any moment now from the Kisumu airport. We can see authorities heightened security preparations ahead of that viewing. Of course, this move follows chaotic scenes that are witnessed in Nairobi earlier in the week, but security officials have assured residents here that everything will proceed without any incidents. Strict measures have been enforced already. The Kisumu governor, Professor Anyang' Nyong'o, is at the Jomo Kenyatta Stadium, and you see the presence of more dignitaries from Kisumu and across the region, especially those from the ODM party arriving in anticipation of the public viewing of Raila Odinga.
Yes, more dignitaries arriving. I think I can see the Kisumu West Member of Parliament, Rosa Buyu. I can also see Member of Parliament Mishi Mboko walking here, and like you've already mentioned, Governor Anyang' Nyong'o is here, but also on that particular podium is CS Opio Wandai, who the CS for Energy. I've also seen on that podium the Governor for Migori, Ochilo Ayako, has also arrived. I've also seen the Principal Secretary in the Ministry of Interior, Raymond Omolo, as part of the leaders who are already here. And I do not know whether we could try as they pass here to even speak to some of them, but the leaders are also here. Much as we do not expect speeches, I see these are developments coming by the day. For instance,
Yesterday we were told no one will be sitting on the terraces. Today we are seeing people on the terraces. Yesterday we were told there will be no speeches. Today, by the look of things and looking at how the people have taken their position, perhaps they may be expecting to be addressed. Who knows? So it really plays out by the minute. No one will certainly predict what will happen once everything unfolds. So we keep an eye. The members of parliament are already those who have arrived. I've seen Rosa Buyu, I've seen Mishimboko, I think, and a host of other members of parliament have walked into the center of the field. However, there will be that touchdown in the next few minutes, Michelle.
Right, and of course a mammoth crowd is outside the stadium as we speak, even as the little spaces that were set out for the public are filled to capacity. Many say they must see the man they called Baba, and so it will be interesting to see how security officials balance that. But of course, like you say, Ibrahim, no one was expected to be sitting in here, standing in the terraces, and this is all happening, and it's expected that we'll have a bit more leniency because even the supporters themselves, the mourners, have come out here quite peaceful, all chanting Joey, Joey in anticipation of the body of Raila Odinga. Now remember that Kisumu is quite crucial in Raila Odinga's story. He spent much of his formative years in Kisumu County, and about 1947 his family relocated to Kaloleni Estate in Kisumu when his father, Jaramogi Oginga Odinga, was beginning his
kutazama mwili wa kiongozi wetu Right Honorable Mheshimiwa Raila Amolo Odinga. Kwako mwenzangu tafadhali. Asante sana ndugu Misango kutoka kikosi cha ulinzi.
Really, it's I know they were speaking of politics from as early, but many did not expect that particular talk to come from the CS, especially at this period of mourning. There will be a lot of people positioning themselves from this particular region. But, Michelle, you also mentioned the ties that Raila Odinga and the larger Odinga family have with Kisumu. Not only political interests, there are vast business interests here in Kisumu. Various industries or various companies that Raila Odinga himself was running that has even provided job opportunities for the locals here. And when the people here see that Raila Odinga is gone, then it's a person who they not only relate with politically, but to some of them, this is a person who has touched their life even economically, because job provision and various other things. Look at the kind of reception that you have coming to Kisumu. Look at the kind of people we saw even while making our way to this particular stadium. Even at the airport right now, the crowds from the roundabout right outside the airport, yet that is so many kilometers away from the stadium, but the love is there. And it makes me wonder, Michelle, how that journey by road from this stadium to Bondo will be, because the numbers out there are crazy.
Absolutely. Many have called this a Mandela moment. The roads are lined up with mourners from Kisumu all the way to Bondo, as much as the body is expected to leave Kisumu at about 3 p.m. heading to Bondo. Security officials have also mulled quite a bit about that transport by road. Taking the body by road to Bondo. Residents on the way, many of them saying it is important for them to get that last closure, especially because the burial itself of Raila Odinga, the final resting place, will take place on Sunday at Kango Jaramogi. But his elder brother, Oburu Odinga, who is also the chair of the co-chair of the State Funeral Committee, did mention that the burial will only be attended by a few select people, family members and close friends. And so for the residents of Kisumu and the residents of Bondo, this final journey to Bondo and the final viewing at the Jaramogi Odinga University of Science and Technology in Bondo really is all they have.